He never missed a payment in 40 years. Not once. Not when the harvest was bad. Not when his wife got sick. Not when the price of grain dropped so low it barely covered the cost of planting. Every single month, for 40 years, Walter Sims walked into that bank, set his payment on the counter, and walked out. He had proof. Every receipt, dated, signed, stacked in an old metal box in his attic, untouched for years. Then one morning in March, a letter arrived, and the bank said he owed everything. Walter Sims was 73 years old. He had lived on the same 220 acres in rural Ohio his entire life, born on that land, raised on that land. For 40 years, he had been paying off a loan his father took out in 1981. It wasn't complicated. $40,000. Fixed rate. Same payment every month. Walter took over in 1984 when his father's health failed. He never refinanced, never missed a due date, never asked for more time. His wife Eleanor kept the books. Every receipt went into a manila envelope, every envelope into a metal box, every box into the attic. Everything neat, organized, dated. Eleanor passed in 2011, but Walter kept her system, because that was the kind of man he was. The bank was called First Heartland Savings. Small, local, the kind of place where people knew your name. Walter had shaken hands with 3 different managers over the years. He trusted that bank. Then in 2019, everything changed. The bank was acquired. New name, new people, new systems, Walter noticed. But he kept making his payments. Same amount. Same day. Every month. He had no reason to think anything had changed, until the letter said everything had. The letter was dated March 4th, 2023. Clean white paper. A logo Walter had never seen before. Meridian Financial Partners, Asset Recovery Division. He read those last 2 words again. Asset Recovery Division. He didn't fully understand it, but something in his chest told him it wasn't good. The letter said they had conducted an audit, old loan accounts, from the bank they had acquired, and during that audit, they found a balance under his name. Outstanding balance. That's what they called it. $61,412. It said payment records were missing, incomplete, unverifiable, and under the loan terms, if the balance wasn't cleared, the land would be taken. 220 acres, his home, everything. Walter read the letter 3 times at the kitchen table. Then he sat down and read it again. He called the number, waited 22 minutes. When someone answered, they were polite, scripted. They confirmed the account, confirmed the amount, and said a formal notice would follow. It came 11 days later, worse than the first, stamped in red ink. Final notice, 7 days, to resolve everything, or foreclosure would begin. No appeal, no extension. 7 days. Walter had farmed that land for 50 years. His mother was buried there. His children grew up there. And now, a company he never chose was giving him 7 days. He didn't sleep that night, or the next. His son Robert came up the following morning, read both letters. Quiet. Then looked at him and said, "Dad, how is this possible?" "You've been paying for 40 years. Walter nodded. "I know." Robert asked, "Then where are the records?" Walter didn't answer right away. He looked at him, then looked up, toward the attic. "They're up there. Every single one." But neither of them moved. Not yet, because the weight of it was still settling in, and the clock had already started. 7 days. Robert called 3 lawyers that same afternoon. The first listened for a few minutes and said he didn't handle foreclosure cases. The second offered a consultation in 3 weeks. Walter said he had 7 days. The call ended there. The third one called back. Her name was Linda Marsh, 54 years old, 28 years in property and banking law. Her voice was calm, the kind that made things feel manageable even when they weren't. She came the next morning, sat at the same kitchen table, both letters still there. She read everything carefully. Then she asked questions. How long had he been paying? Had he ever seen a remaining balance? Had anyone contacted him before? Walter's answers didn't change. 40 years. No, never. Linda leaned back, looked at the letters again. Then she said, "Walter, I have to be honest. On paper, this doesn't look good. Meridian has a claim. They've filed it correctly. And without proof of payment, I can't win this in court." Walter looked at her. "So what are you telling me?" Linda didn't hesitate. "I'm telling you the paperwork is everything. If you have every receipt, we have a case. If you don't, it gets very hard." Robert looked at his father. Walter looked up, toward the attic. That evening, his neighbor Carl stopped by. 78. Farmed the land next door for decades. He read the letters, shook his head. "I've seen this before. These companies buy small banks, then go after old accounts, the ones where records are gone. They bet no one fights back," Walter said. "I'll fight." Carl looked at him, then at Robert. "I hope you've got proof, because without it, it won't matter how right you are. They've got lawyers. They've got time. They've got money. And that usually wins." Walter didn't answer. That night he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. 40 years of doing everything right, and none of it mattered. Without proof. Linda had been clear. Find everything, every receipt, every record, all the way back. He had 4 days left. The next morning, Walter Sims climbed the attic stairs, for the first time in 3 years. The attic smelled like dust. Old wood, something he couldn't quite place. Maybe time. Walter stood at the top of the stairs and let his eyes adjust. Boxes along one wall, old furniture in the corner, a rocking chair that had belonged to Eleanor's mother, and against the far wall, 3 metal boxes, dark green, latches on the front, half hidden behind a rolled rug. Eleanor had bought them, labeled them herself. Neat black letters. Sims Loan, 1984 to 1992. Sims Loan, 1993 to 2001. Sims Loan, 2002 to present. Walter stood there for a moment, just looking at them. He remembered her voice. "Walter, we keep everything. Every paper this bank gives us. Because one day, we might need it." He hadn't thought about it much back then. He was thinking about it now. He carried the first box down, set it on the kitchen table. Robert was already there, notepad in front of him. Walter opened the latch. Inside, manila envelopes, organized by year. Every receipt from 1984 to 1992. Dated, stamped, signed. Robert picked up the first one. January 1984. Payment received. Account current. He picked up another. February 1984. Same thing. He looked at his father. Walter didn't say anything. He went back upstairs. Came down with the second box. More of the same. Year after year. Month after month. Nothing missing. By the time Linda arrived, the table was covered. Rows of receipts, laid out in order. She stopped at the door, looked at the table, then at Walter. "Is this all of them?" Walter said. "There's one more." He brought down the third box, set it beside the others, opened it. 2002 to present. Every receipt, right up to February 2023, 1 month before the letter. Linda sat down slowly, picked up a receipt, then another, checked the dates, counted. The room stayed quiet. Then she looked up. "Walter, they have nothing. Every payment you made is right here. 40 years. Dated, signed, stamped. Walter looked at the table, at Eleanor's handwriting, at everything she had saved. She always said, "We might need them." Linda nodded. She was right. They walked out of the courthouse into a bright April morning. Robert's hand rested on his father's shoulder. For a moment, they said nothing, just stood there, breathing, letting it settle. Then Robert said, "Dad, it's over." Walter nodded. Once. Slowly. He looked out at the street. People walking, cars passing. A normal day for everyone else. The most important day of his life. 3 weeks later, Linda called. The paperwork was final. The account was corrected. 40 years of payments. Fully recorded. The balance? Gone. The foreclosure? Removed. And an investigation had been opened. Walter listened. Quiet. When she finished, he said, "So it's done." Linda said, "It's done, Walter. The land is yours. It always was." He thanked her, set the phone down, sat there for a moment, then stood up, put on his boots, his jacket, and stepped outside. He walked the fence line, past the barn, past the south field, where spring was just starting, all the way to the north edge, where Eleanor was buried, beneath a simple stone, under the oak tree she loved. He stood there, for a long time. Then he said, "Your system worked." Most people don't think about this. Walter didn't win because of a lawyer. He won because someone kept the proof. Eleanor did. 3 metal boxes. 40 years. That's what saved everything. And here's the part most people miss. Walter wasn't the only one. There were others. Same letters. Same 7 days. But they didn't have what he had. Proof. And what happened next changed everything for those farmers. That story is coming next. So don't miss it. If you've made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is for. Stories that actually matter. Real outcomes. Real consequences. So, stay here. Subscribe, because the next one is bigger than this.